the sales gypsy. And here's Jesse Harwell.
So how is it going today?
It is going A-OK. COVID's still beating everyone up, kicking all of us in the shins, but there are some really good bright spots out there. But, you know, I'm doing okay up here in Wisconsin.
Nice,
all right.
Nice. I've seen your stuff online and in LinkedIn. Can you give us an idea of like the inspiration of Death of a Copier? Like kind of what are you about, and how, I guess, where do you see the industry at the current moment?
Sure. Well, I mean, Death of the Copier really came out of when I worked out in California with a pretty large, I guess they called it MSP now. Back then it was a bar, and was an HP partner, and they were bringing out Edgeline, which was a big inkjet A3 device, humongous. Mm-hmm. And their whole idea back then, and that I don't know if it was their second or third attempt, HP's third attempt into the copier industry, was that this particular device would get rid of copiers, quote unquote, in terms of, you know, there wouldn't be a 7-step xerographic process. It's all inkjet, cheaper, more reliable, et cetera, et cetera. So at the time, I mean, blogging was just coming out, right? You still had people doing recipes and kitchen stuff on blogs. So I really just started it out to, I don't know, journalize the journey from, you know, beginning a scratch MPS practice to implementing with Edgeline and going forward in the IT world versus the copier world, that kind of stuff. And, you know, that's where the Death of the Copier, quote unquote, came up because of that. But, you know, as the years evolved, you know, I saw all the paper plants close. I watched the 8.5 by 11 cut sheet paper supplies. No one in the U.S. was making that size anymore, so that dropped out. So the Death of the Copier really became, you know, even though it's a slow death, the actual decrease of people who need copiers. And now you hear this today, there's this big thing about, you know, 11 by 17, A3 versus A4. Well, was it 2007 that was true, that we were overselling. And I remember one of the first fleets I did an analysis for, it wasn't that big, it was like 1,800 devices, but 98% of the devices had 11 by 17 capability, but less than 1% of the output was 11 by 17. So that told me right now, it's 2007, 2008, that we were overselling. And the definition of a copier was 11 by 17, right? Big piece of glass. So kind of segued into, all right, well, people are going to shift away from that because they don't need it. Someday they're going to wake up and realize that they're oversold, and fewer people are going to need the copy. Now, I know the copier is still around, but it ain't 1999. There's nobody is making new clicks. We're just eating up each other's clicks. And you know, when you introduce COVID and you start to see people talk about, we just installed 23 A4, you know, Kyoceras or little Sharps. We may be selling devices, but I'm telling you, those volumes are not going to be there. No one work from home prints, and I can't. I mean, sure, there's going to be a few, but I'll go to the extreme so that people don't try and invest their future in that, because that's not there. That's not there.
Right.
I mean,
so
yeah.
Do you think, okay, let's say I'm a guy who just came out of college. Would you say like find a different industry? Is that the death you're talking about? Like you're just in the wrong field, you should do something else with your time, with your life? Or is it just like death of a way of selling, or what do you mean?
Sure. I think that sales in general will remain selling. B2B sales will still be B2B sales. The tools around it, the environment, the landscape's always changing. Right now we're going through a huge shift, just the biggest shift ever, from face-to-face to remote selling. That's going to be reality. We're going to see a lot, and you know, it was changing before COVID. With the buyers were being, you know, they're a lot smarter than they ever were. They were engaging salespeople later in the cycle, right? And there was, you know, cold calling was still viable, right? But you know, your dials are going to go from 100 to 300. Your knock on doors are going to go from 100 to 200 a week. And it's just going to be a churn in terms of pure numbers. But those numbers are going to have to go up for you to get the same results.
Right.
Especially new guys coming in. Now, On the flip side, I think there's plenty of dealerships that have made the jump from print, copy, paper to managed services, IT services, digital processing, and things like that. And I believe that is where, if you were coming out of college and you did want to make sales your profession, I still believe that there's no better place than in this industry to cut your teeth, to learn how to sell, to learn how to ask questions, to learn to dig for opportunities and match, your services to those opportunities. I think that's still viable. On the flip side, I see plenty of dealers hire 40, 45 interns in October, and maybe one is left 12 months later. Wow. So there's still that. I mean, there's still, and it's a volatile market. But if you can hang in for a year and a half, and I advise all new people, you're gonna have to listen to the speeches from the vendors on how their machines are different. You're gonna have to take that with a grain of salt and look for the impacts of your solution set, not the actual specs. I mean, this is not, we've been saying this for years. We had never meant it, but we've always said solution sales are the way to go. I'm here to solve your business problems, not sell, a 45 page per minute device. Right. That was on the 1st, but by the 28th, it's like, hey, can you sign here? I got a contest. If I sell 2 more devices, I'll win a
of course
pie.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's probably one of the great opportunities about COVID is it shifts the whole conversation, right? I mean, our prospects are going to be less, that argument is going to resonate less now than ever before, because people don't, right. I mean, who cares if it's a Kyocera or a Sharp or a Konica? They all do the same. They're big, they're loud, they really don't solve any problems on their own, and they are a solution in search of a business challenge. That's the way, I mean, they're a necessary evil. Anyway, but I think back to your original question, I still think it's I mean, what are you going to do when you get out of school and you want to be a sales guy? You're going to go sell insurance? That's fine. Sell cars? All right, maybe. Real estate? That's the last stop. But B2B sales should be in technology. And if you can't, if you're not, I would recommend going to technology for sure. But if you want more sales skills, to learn more sales, sales things, the copier industry is still the best place to go, I think, for that.
Well, you mentioned cherry pie. Is that your favorite type of pie?
No, I like blackberry.
Okay, and who makes the best blackberry pie?
Well, when I was in Michigan, there was a place called Blazo's. They made the best pie. I don't know, I haven't had it in a long time, except for a couple of homemade pies I've had that are excellent. But yeah.
I think you might be a pie guy. So what would be something that people wouldn't know about you personally? Like,
boy.
Like, I mean, obviously you're selling technology, whatever, but who are you as a person? Like, I guess, what do your friends and family see that maybe your clients wouldn't see?
Oh, I don't have any idea on that. I mean, I'm pretty transparent. Boy, it's been a long time since I've been asked that, but I've been asked that before. I mean, let's see. A lot of people may not know I was born in Hawaii, grew up outside Detroit, lived in LA for 13 years, lived in North Carolina for 3, and then moved up here. This is my 5th year in Wisconsin. So I've been all over the country and sold in just about every environment too. So I started selling PCs in 1988.
Oh, wow.
ATs and compact 386s. Oh, that's where I cut.
Way back.
Yeah. So back then it was computerized accounting systems, because businesses had either AS400s or VAX or System 36s, big iron, and the small and medium sizes businesses only had people. So an accounts receivable department with 12 people in it was pretty impressive. Yeah. But your computerized accounting system would reduce that down to 2. So I was all part of that revolution, and that was fun.
It kind of got me thinking. How many manufacturers reps do you think you've dealt with in your career?
Oh, geez, I couldn't even begin to. Hundreds at least, and maybe more.
Who's like one or two that stick out, and what did they do that made them special?
Well, I'll tell you what, the best ones were HP. They were. I mean, what I found out about the HP reps is they're pragmatic. They know who butters their bread. Either it's going to be the dealer or it's going to be the home office, and usually it's the mothership. But they're all honest about it. So we would work together. It was funny. Every HP rep I ever had, we worked together to both seal deals, bring product to market, and work with HP, the mothership, which quite honestly was sometimes more difficult than selling. Actually, when working with HP, the easiest thing to do was to sell the equipment. I mean, back then we were just, because HP had a really good IT reputation, more than anyone else. I mean, this is before Dell was even out there. So if you had anything with a little blue logo on it in the IT department was an easier sell, right? Because you're going to bring a Xerox machine versus an HP Copier of all things. They're going to buy the Copier, which is crazy too. But anyway, HP. I liked the guys at Ricoh when I was at Icon, mainly because Ricoh was always number 2, so they're always trying harder against Canon. But there haven't been any really, really bad experiences. There's either typical or atypical, and atypical would be the ones that go out in the field with you and work both sides of the coin, both sides of the relationship. So HP.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, are you a vendor, or what's the arc drive stuff? What are you doing there?
Well, the arc drive. So first off, the arc drive it's nothing magical. It's what I did. So what we saw maybe back in 2011, MPS was pretty big. I was a huge proponent for management services as an entry into managed IT services. So when it fell down, MPS was not implemented correctly in terms of a get in an account and grow strategy. It ended up being boiled down to cost per image, no matter what device it came out of, which was, looking back, I guess that's what the easiest thing our dealer channel could do. Very few people took the ball and ran with it inside an IT department, because that's who our contacts were with MPS, to grow into managed services. They still keep them siloed. What was the question again?
Just basically, what's arc drive, and if a dealer is
Sure.
looking at that, is that your product, or whose product is it?
Well,
and,
here we go.
What does it do for them?
What I decided to do was put multiple disciplines under one platform, right? Under one SKU. I looked at the dealer channel, and we've always been great at selling devices, adding a paper tray, a finisher, even a recirculating automatic document feeder. We're good at putting those things together. So instead of me putting together a software package that we have to talk a little bit higher and all this stuff up in the cloud, I've decided to put it on a box. All right, so on the arc drive is antivirus, anti-ransomware, digital workflow, user control, a DCA for management services. It's all embedded on that piece of hardware. Right? There's no moving parts, there's no fan, there's no hard drive. It connects to a single unit or to any network. All right, and it allows for remote entry or remote working. This is before COVID. The whole idea there was to give our reps something that they can carry around, put on a desk, and say, hey, listen, you want to streamline your accounts receivables like you told me? This box can do that, right? So the mentality, it's a marketing move, because all of it could be up in the cloud. And it's aimed at the SMB. So it's aimed at 25, 50, 70 employees. So those companies typically don't have an IT department. When you talk to an owner about the cloud, it's kind of fuzzy for them. And our sales reps, same thing. They're talking about the cloud, but it's not, it's still a philosophical discussion it comes down to. So instead of even addressing that, made it very easy to take this box out, has blinky lights and everything. It does that. It compares very well with all the big high-end document management and advanced capture pieces of software that's out there. As a matter of fact, our one guiding light was to find proven software that really wasn't adopted here in the States. So our primary workflow software is the same software that Konica Minolta uses everywhere else except for in the US.
Okay.
Right? Our DCA and our intelligent supplies management system is from South America. It's been around for a long time, but what's real interesting about that one is they built the system off of local devices because that's all they had down there. Very few connected. So if you know MPS up here, it's been very difficult to get those local devices.
Right.
This particular piece of software came out of getting the local devices first, and then the network devices second. So now
the USB connections.
USBs, direct print, all that stuff. So
Okay.
yeah. So the whole idea with ArcDrive was it is a marketing leverage point, right? I want the conversation to be easy. I want it to be understood by the sales rep, dealer ownership, and your prospects. Real simple. Pricing. I mean, right now, and I used to be, I've sold it, so I know it's not unusual to get a $60,000, $80,000 system out there. I mean, that's a lot. That's a big chunk, especially if you look at the market. We're looking at 25 to 50 employees. A $12,000 device is a lot of money for them. You come in with a $22,000 document management solution, not going to go. They're going to keep paying people as opposed to that. And then you add on that a layer of complexity, changing the workflow within an organization, all that stuff, and they're not going to go for it. So I figured simplify it for everyone involved. We've already got pre-built AR and workflows on it. So that's what ArcDrive is. I mean, it's pretty simple. The pricing is maybe 20% of what most people are used to with the bigger guys. There's no complicated training, right? We're not going to send your reps away to school and have them, log in every 90 days to get a refresh. It's not that complicated. And I think what happened is the industry made it complicated, because what was that phrase? Where there's mystery, there's margin. All right, well, most of the margin in those systems today are going back to the manufacturer, not the dealer. And we shipped that along. So anyway, that's ArcDrive.
Just to simplify, if you don't mind, I probably shouldn't be saying names to protect the guilty here, but would this be kind of like a less expensive version of like Square 9 or M-Files or something along that? Or am I in the wrong world here?
No, those are actually in the right world. And I would say that would be our competitive landscape right there. No, those are fine pieces of software. Our whole thing is not to replace what's already being offered, but to add to your portfolio. And again, if you're going with one of those, right? There's no antivirus, there's no anti-ransomware built in. The device is a Windows 10 IoT device. So whatever the software is on that device, if one of your end users updates Instagram and it destroys all whatever, that your DCA goes blank, that won't happen on an ArcDrive because it's under the control of the dealer, and we do the upgrades that don't interrupt anything. So it's in its own environment, and then it can even do the automatic toner fulfillment. So there's different disciplines, like I said earlier. So yeah, Square 9. What's been unfortunate, I guess, is when we do demo, is most of our dealers who are, maybe one of the two big guys on the block, they offer it. They may have sold one, but they whatever. They try and compare us to those higher end software packages. Capability-wise, specs-wise, they're perfect. I mean, they do the exact same thing, only easier, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not the market we want to go after, because those two guys have a really well-established market share, right? And that we don't have the deep marketing pockets. We're going after a market that they're kind of ignoring. Anyway.
Well, plus, they're building like custom workflows for large enterprises, which is very specific, and that's not necessarily important for the mom and pop, where they can just use a standard. They don't even want to think about it. That actually adds complexity. It doesn't make it easier for them. So we run into that. Like I tried to sell document management, and I just kind of gave up because there are so many people that need to be involved, and it's such a complicated sell, and it took forever. So I mean, it's cool. I didn't even know that that's what you guys were doing. That's actually mapped to check into that a little bit more.
When I was at Icon, every SME you brought in added 30 days to the cycle. And I loved working at Icon because we had 20 different solution sets for everything from scanning to document management. I mean, you could throw this is back early 2000s, in that range. Did a deal with Jacuzzi that was a huge document management solution that today would be, ArcDrive can handle it, right? Wow. It's not that complicated, but every subject matter expert you add to your team adds another 30 days to your cycle.
In terms of that, what's a typical margin? Are you talking like 25% or 40 or 30, or is it kind of like you just randomly pick a number, throw a dart at the dartboard and decide what you want to make? How does it work?
It's kind of a blend of both. It depends on the problem you're solving. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you can solve an $18,000 solution, then you should be able to sell the solution for I'm sorry, solve an $18,000 problem that should come out around 15,000.
Mhm.
All right, so you're saving money, but then the margin, we don't post to retail. There's no
Okay.
retail. It's just
Okay.
cost.
And how would someone get a hold of you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, just Greg Walters or Greg at grwalters.com, or hit me up. Look at the arcdrive.com is our website. Hit me up on LinkedIn, wherever.
Is there anybody who would be a bad fit for you?
A super micro, multi-level marketing guy would not be a good fit. Right now, enterprise, and I hesitate to say that because software is capable, but I understand the complexities of an enterprise account solution set. So our dealers I'm not at those dealers. I want the $1 to $15 million to $20 million dealers, right? They don't have a team of quote experts to come in and donate 30 days of study, workflow analysis that includes diagram, all that stuff. And I'm not saying that isn't important. I do believe that we've overcomplicated that. I think we've done that on purpose. But so like an enterprise account would not be something that we would encourage any of our guys to go after. So, yeah.
No, I think it's good for people to kind of have an idea of where kind of what lane you're trying to drive in so that they don't put themselves into some weird situation.
Yeah.
And I guess last kind of stranger questions. Do you have any conspiracy theories you like or any?
Oh, I love all of them. I think we'll have UFOs landing in October, just before the election. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's one of my predictions. I didn't see the murder hornets coming. That was interesting. Nor the meth gators in New York City. That was real fun. But then there's all the real ones that I don't even want to bring up because didn't hear about them until until after COVID. Now they're out there.
And well, now it's kind of like if you decide you're going to be a Democrat, you're going to make half the people angry or a Republican the other half. So you almost have to be careful in which.
You got. No, everyone doesn't want to say anything anymore. That's all right, whatever. And then the whole COVID thing. I don't even know what numbers to believe anymore. So what I've noticed, and even in the business world, is the scope used to be like from East Coast to West Coast, right? Or even globally, because we're talking to people in England and all that stuff. But that scope has come down to 2 to 3 blocks local, or regional. No one that I'm talking to is really reaching. There's plenty of Milwaukee businesses that could do business in Iowa. They're concentrating on their neighbors here in Milwaukee, and I think we're seeing that all over the country. Again, depending on the environment, poor folks are you out in California? You're not.
Colorado.
Okay, good. Well, California, our dealers in California don't know which way is up because every week or day something changes, right? You can't have people in, you can't have people in. You can visit businesses. Well, no, you can't visit business. So it's all crazy. But as conspiracy goes, there's always something good. Now there's a ton of them. I love it.
Nice. The last question I have, this is going to be kind of the question that I want to ask everybody is, since we're in kind of like the copier type of industry, what's something that you've copied from somebody that's really helped your sales career or your business career a lot? And what's something that people could copy from you that would make them more successful?
Well, let me think. I think it would go deep into the career, and by copying, emulating, or utilizing, right? Strategic selling. When that book first came out, Strategic Selling, it still holds today. Well, it still holds pre-COVID. I don't know. Again, I don't know what's going to happen here in the sales environment in the next 12 to 18 to 5 years out. How it's going to change. It will change. But the strategic selling with the 4 different influences and how to map out a complex sale. All right, not necessarily I wouldn't say simple, but a non-complex 1 or 2 decision makers. But when you've got 4 influencers, and it can be anything from a committee to a C-level down to end user, you've got all this team of folks trying to make a decision on a strategic purchase. That was one of the best books I ever read and still can utilize. And it can water it down into a simple B2B solution too. But as far as copying other people, I don't think I've that's another thing is the world is so connected that there's very rarely a unique idea anymore. If I've got an idea on my side, I know there's at least 30 people on the other side of the world that have the same idea. and it's just the way it is because of the environment we're in. What could people copy off of, or maybe gain some insight from me or whatever I say? I think the biggest thing, and I've always felt this, is treat the world as there are no experts. And right now, that's probably the best thing because no one's been here before. Mm-hmm. So I'm very dubious of anyone who's giving advice today that is the same as it would be before COVID. All right, I know there's some basic blocking and running and blocking skills that will remain foundational, but there are other things out there that the landscape is changing. It's going to change, and it has been changing since COVID. So I can't. There's very few things that were pre-COVID in the sales environment, in the sales world, that I could see are going to be 100% applicable after COVID. And I know Larry's probably. I don't even have his book. What is that? What's Larry's?
Selling from the Heart?
Yeah, Selling from the Heart. Now, when he first brought out that idea years ago, I agreed with it, but I thought it was kind of redundant. I figured that was kind of a normal thing, right? If you're selling from the heart, then you're doing a good job, and that's a professional salesperson. Apparently, his book is resonating, his ideas are resonating, so there's a vacuum out there that's willing to take a look at that. I think, if anything, that particular mentality, pre-COVID and post-COVID, it might be even more valuable after COVID. But, and I know Larry didn't plan on having a pandemic to help him along there. But I think that's probably one of the best. If I were to look at something to emulate or at least promote, it'd be along those lines right now. I mean, there's plenty of spreadsheets and mathematical equations when it comes to sales, but I believe that other part, that those soft skills are probably going to be much more relevant in the near future, than being able to whip out to run SKUs and do a cost analysis and run some numbers. It's going to be the other side of the equation that really resonates with people now. And
right.
I think that is COVID. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's nice. Shout out to Larry. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, appreciate the time today. And again, can you let people know how to get a hold of you if they find what your stuff is interesting?
So email is Greg, Greg, at grwalters.com. You can go, I've got a grwalters.com website. I've got the ArcDrive website, and then still punching out there's the deathofthecopier.com. I post maybe once a month on there. You can check that out. And then I'm writing for the imaging channel maybe once or twice a month. So.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like if there's a dealer out there who's struggling with doc management, that they should definitely reach out to you and see what you guys have to offer.
Yeah.
If there's people who are just wanting to learn more about managed print, you have a lot of insight on that, I'm sure, to offer as well.
Yeah, I've got a lot of experience with MPS. The doc man thing, sure, absolutely. We have a compelling argument, and we're helping our dealers change the conversation out in the field. So, yeah. And even if you don't become an ArcDrive dealer, still, let's talk. And, it's a weird time now. Let's see if we can help each other out, at least survive and then thrive afterwards.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the time today. And I guess we'll wrap it up here. And, thank everybody for listening.
You've been listening to The Sales Gypsy, broadcasting from a nondescript van down by the river.
And I live in a van down by the river.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I had to do it. Jesse Harwell, The Sales Gypsy, talking sales, life, with people who know industry secrets and how to use them to crush it. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show, and we hope you had fun along the way. We know we did. Make sure to find us on social media, and also make sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe. We'll be back soon. This is The Sales Gypsy, signing off.